All right. Hey, everyone. This is Pastor Personality and Dave Powers here as we are having our quarterly conversation. And so I guess that's what we'll call it. And today we're going to be looking at different topics. Mainly we're going to be talking about how the OPS system, objective personality system, goes with the Enneagram.
Yeah.
And then we'll probably talk about other things as my masculine Enne leads us different areas. So Dave, real quick, give just a minute spiel about what objective personality is, just in case nobody knows who's watching.
Sure. So the objective personality, we're using the Carl Jung's functions, the 8 functions from Carl Jung, and the Myers-Briggs 16, and we're attempting to track them to some degree using some type of objective method. So we put me and Shanny in different rooms, and we'll be typing people, and then we're trying to get the exact same type as each other, in a double-blind kind of test. So we've been getting success with that. It's just fractaled from 16 types to 32 types because you realize there's types within types, which has been the theory forever. And that fractals all the way down to 512 types. And that just kind of figures out what we believe to be kind of the genetic personality type.
Mm-hmm.
But then from there, you have nature and nurture and all sorts of different ways that can be added onto that. And the Enneagram is something that we see people kind of stacking onto that of trying to express how they're dealing with their emotions and stuff like that.
Yeah, so the Enneagram in the church world, in the leadership church world, I've noticed really in the last year has really started. I'm seeing random people tweet about it and videos on it that have different pastors and leaders that I will listen to have never ever wandered into any of that kind of thing before. And I'm like,
yeah.
What? Where's that coming from? And so I did some brief research on it. There is some theory that in the early church, so they call the Desert Fathers, that they dealt with this years ago. And so I've been forced to kind of look into it. And unlike Myers-Briggs, the first time I ever took it, I got Enneagram 3, Wing 4, and I read about it, and I was like, yeah, that's it. I see that. The first time I ever took the MBTI test, I was like, yeah, I didn't really, and different ones, but I didn't really question it. I'm like, yeah, I could see that because they kind of tell you like all your problems is what the Enneagram does.
Right.
What your fears are and that kind of thing. Hold on, Siri's talking to me over here. Well, I got off track anyhow. But anyway, I've been paying attention to it more because what annoys me about the Enneagram is there's 9 types.
I know, right? That bugs me too. Like make that 10 or make that 8.
I guess technically 18 if you do the wings, which I don't know how they even discovered the wings.
Oh, sure, yeah.
But maybe that's still, though, 18 is not even enough for me, right?
Right.
That's the most thing that annoys me. And then there's like this cross thing going on. Like if you're 3, 6 is where you need to not be, and then 9 is where you need to be.
Yeah.
So anyway, what overlap? How can you see, so if I'm an ESTJ through Wing 4, I can see some commonalities there. Even though I'm double feminine ESTJ, there's still some motivations there maybe.
Yeah.
And, how can you use them in conjunction, with that kind of thing?
Yeah. What I've seen is a lot of people that are in the Myers-Briggs world, which is kind of the world we're in, I guess, they are also in the Enneagram. That'd be, those two are probably the closest partners. Yeah. And I have noticed that people that are the same Myers-Briggs type, or people that we have typed as the same type, that they will attach onto any number of Enneagram numbers. So it's not like we type somebody that's the same type as you, and they're going to consistently be, identifying with the same parts of the Enneagram as you are, or whatever. So we've not seen a consistency on that. It does seem to be it seems to be like kind of a subjective thing where a person is expressing, this is what I am feeling. This is where I feel I'm at. And I've really been kind of thinking about it. It's like it almost seems to be kind of like going down the road of archetypes, like who am I in the tribe and where am I in my identity process? Like for example, we'll talk to people that are kind of in their late 20s, and they're kind of in the stage of where their outside environment is becoming very adult-like. Now they have a kid, now they have responsibilities, but their identity is still a 16-year-old. And so they'll identify with childish behavior, but the environment they're in is they need to transform and have kind of a rite of passage and switch archetypes, stop being the child and put that away and start becoming the adult. and that would be kind of almost like you would just be like switching archetypes both in the tribe and your own personal identity. And I think, I don't know, just kind of my silly theory, it seems like the Enneagram is kind of catching some of that dynamic of where the person's at.
I think on some level it might presuppose more of nurture than nature.
Yeah, right. That's what I'm seeing too.
I think like so like the 3-4 basically is someone who like, and I feel this, right? That everything they've worked for in life they've earned,
right?
And like they have always had like an obstacle. Maybe if that's reality, who knows, right? But that's how they feel, like everything they've had to earn it,
right,
and everything like that. And I read that, I was like, I definitely feel that way, but is it because the house you grew up in where you had to earn everything in life, right?
Right.
On the way you look at it. And so I wonder if it's more nurture, because you have the nature nurture thing, whereas your system is pretty much saying, no, this is nature.
Right. That's all. That's our narrow lane. Is that? Yeah.
It's you can work within that default, right?
Right.
But the Enneagram seems to be maybe saying, and maybe I'm misreading it, but I have heard some people saying that it's more of like, hey, this is a combination of like what you've grown up in, how you coped with your fears in life.
I did read that exact lines last night when I was going through the infographics on Bing Images. Exactly that. There was actually talking about the similarities and differences between Myers-Briggs actually and the Enneagram. And it was saying exactly that, nature and nurture. That the Enneagram is more of the nurturing. Yeah.
So if someone is a, I don't know, let's say someone is an ENFP or ENTP, and they're a 7.
Yeah.
Like crazy experienced person,
Yeah.
How can they harness those two things to get at, start having some structure in their life? You know what I mean? Like what, I don't know.
Yeah. It's, I just see it as, if a person can identify themselves, it almost seems to be like identify objectively and subjectively. It's like if you have the objective thing, it's like, look, that's kind of where we specialize on. Is like, look, here's where the tribe sees you. Here's where genetics sees you. And very often the person usually doesn't identify with that. It feels very much like when you get your picture taken, Christmas time, and you look at it like, I don't look like that. I don't talk like that.
Yeah.
Our view of ourselves is often very weird. So there's a little bit of that going on. But then that doesn't necessarily always have to do with what the person is going through. I mean, we'll see this a lot, for example, with people that are lead masculine to E. The tribe is seeing them as aggressive and scary, but they are not seeing that at all in any way, shape, or form. They're only seeing their feminine introverted side. And so it's like they will identify, say, with the Enneagram, with the softer feminine FI with number, X, Y, or Z. And even though the tribe is seeing them as this, so I think like it just feels like triangulation tools, and where they're properly used. Like if you use the Enneagram like it's objective, you're going to get into trouble because you're going to just take yourself down subjective lane. But it's like just attaching like, oh, you're this Myers-Briggs type or this ops type or whatever. It's like, great. I don't know how to identify that. I don't know what I feel or my view of myself. So I think just using them as a triangulation tool, and then from there it's like it's really the person's choice on like what do they want to do, what do they want to do in life. Like say somebody like you're mentioning, like somebody who's kind of doubling down on P, and a 7, so any on top, gather on top of gather. It's like, is that the identity you want to have? Is that the role you want to have? Is that the archetype you want to have at this time in life and in this setting? And maybe if they're a 16-year-old and a lot of their kids, a lot of their friends are all in the chess club and all a bunch of IJs, maybe that is a great role to be and to play at that time in life, being 16. But back to now they're 29, and it's like that is where these tools can kind of help show what the strengths are and therefore start to give some insights on the opposites on the balance.
Cool, good. Anything else when you learned about the Enneagram when you were studying? Anything else that kind of that is appropriate for the discussion, I guess?
I just keep seeing it as I see the community using it as a non-frontline tool. Like a lot of people seem to have it to where like they'll argue you up here on certain topics, say the big 5. That's like nobody, I don't see any, I think the big 5 at Enneagram in a way could be kind of an opposite where like the big 5, everyone will argue that logically. You know,
I read over the Big Five for 2 minutes and was like, "This is the dumbest thing I've ever read in my life."
see,
And I've
because
never looked at it again.
right, because it's not. But then you look at the silly Enneagram, you're like, "This is great." You know?
I'm like, "What is all this?"
I know. And so it's like the Big Five seems to be where the community at large kind of just argues the science, the T of it, and then but then the Enneagram, it's like, okay, let's go over here and have this off the record discussion of like, hey, which number are you? Oh, you know what? Right now, I'm the this, I'm the that, and it's not something that people are going to like objectively really stand their ground and fight on. It seems to be more of a
pseudoscience.
Yeah, but in a pseudoscience in a proper way of like, here's subjectively how I'm feeling. Here's what I identify with. And people seem to be using the Enneagram not for arguing with each other, but for trying to connect, trying to express emotions in a vulnerable kind of state.
Interesting.
You know? That's what I've noticed with the community in the Enneagram.
That's interesting. So the Big Five is like NT, and so you look at it and you're like, okay, great. What now?
Right.
And the Enneagram's kind of like,
it's like the off the record conversation.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah, because
I don't even know what I really. It's weird. You know, the Big Five. I have no idea what I would be. Probably neurotic, which makes me say, "Hey." But I mean, I don't know. Like that's distant. Like, what am I gonna do with that?
I know exactly.
Okay, now I'm neurotic.
Right. There's not. You can point to the Enneagram and the tools that it has, and you can express more when you can see in writing what you're going through, and then you can share that with a loved one. That is like a super useful vehicle of emotional communication and healing and growth and all that, where the ops material and the Big Five, it's so scientific and T blocking and rigid. There's not a lot of emotional healing going in that direction because it's too all in sciencey.
It's good. All right, let's shift gears from that a little bit. So I'm I guess a unique type. I mean, of course, everybody's unique, right?
Yeah.
But, a double feminine ESTJ, so you have the masculine NEFIs, would throw people off and would throw myself off, I guess. Would throw you off, but different people. But all the double feminine types or even feminine savior types, which is not always the same thing.
Right.
Do you see them still identifying with even initially, but even do you see them identifying with their masculine modalities?
Yeah, that's a great question.
I mean, what? I mean, your masculines are what?
My FI and SE, which are towards the bottom.
Towards the bottom. So, do you? Okay. So
I know, right? That's such. I don't know. Like, I have noticed that, like, for example, my favorite type, the shanty types, right? So I'm always looking at them twice, and like I've noticed that some shanties, you know, the TESE NTJs, visual, some of them will speak from their feminine FI. They'll have a very high feminine, don't hurt me kind of voice.
Okay,
and then other ones will speak from their masculine TE, and they're the same type, but it's just almost like they're coming out in the world through one of the so Shandy and I have talked about that, like, 5 minutes here and there, like, I wonder if people are like identifying with one of their deciders or the other, like I'll watch myself with the deciders in the middle, like right now I'm more in feminine TE mode. As soon as I turn off the recorder, then I'm going to go work out, I'm going to go right into masculine FI mode. It's like, which one am I? It's like, but some people will be kind of more in one or the other for the
I'm just looking at my own experience, I guess, because the feminine TE, feminine SI, I see it now, but feminine SI is hard to have second because I can't remember.
I know, right?
It's my memory's not great, but I am very
the purpose.
I'm very routine oriented, that kind of thing. So that made sense. But I don't even. So if you don't see your saviors, right? Well, that's the whole deal.
Yeah,
saviors are feminine. I think you really don't see them.
That's true, huh?
That's what I wonder, like, because so I feel the masculine in E, and because I feel like I'm constantly in that world, right? And I'm doing the TSI, I'm just on like robotic, like not even muscle memory stuff, right?
Right.
And then I feel the FI for sure, absolutely, and I don't know. I don't know if other people feel, a double masculine someone. I wonder, like, if their struggles, even though they are going to be the same, like how. I don't know. So
no, it's a good question. Like for example, we'll watch a lot of people that are from the military or from prisons. There's a new guy on YouTube who's a very kind of David Goggins kind of archetype, and he's from the prison world. His name is Wes Watson. He's on YouTube, and he's ESTJ, TENE, and all the way cranked up. So play, blast, consume. Very intense guy, right? And but he's I've typed him as audio modality, so he has the masculine FI. And the guy is a great example. He's a really good, positive guy. He's been through hell and all the rest, and has a really good message, But he speaks from his masculine FI. He's which is the lower function. He does not speak from his feminine TE. He'll get into that zone, but he's really had to learn in life, going through all the trials that he's gone through. Is like, wait a minute, of the two deciders here, that's been his life discovery, his life journey. This thing down here, my identity, my values, and then the masculine, and then choosing to show confidence and aggression, animalistic aggression on the front end, and then that feminine T on the back end. That's very different. We see a lot of people that are the same exact type, that are younger, have not been through hell, and they're like, "What's wrong with feminine TE?" I'll talk from that. So I think a lot of it kind of to the Enneagram subject, like it does seem to be, there's a lot of dynamics going there, nurture related. The exact types are not going to be the same 20 years from now if one went in this intensity and one went that way. And is the adaptation process part of the adaptation process? You're kind of shifting focus of which functions you're using,
Yeah, especially if he doesn't know he's doing it. Like I'm making a concerted effort to use masculine FI and to make decisions with it. And I had to make a tough decision last week. And, before this process, I would have been avoiding it and kind of running from it. And then I was like, no, this is what needs to happen. This is what's going to happen. It's going to happen. And my wife was like, everybody's a little stunned that you did that. Was that impulsive? Where did that come from? And I was like, no. I've been thinking about it for all weekend. This is what needs to happen. It has to happen.
Yeah.
But if I didn't understand, that's the MFI coming up. But I knew that. I was like, okay, this is where it's got to deal.
Right.
This is a value. This is a boundary that has been crossed. It's got to do it.
Right.
Because what's going to happen if I don't deal with it, it is going to be dealt with down the line. It's going to be worse.
Right. Yeah.
So that I don't know how to give people advice on how to work on their demons unless they have masculine FI. So the only way I know how to tell them,
I know,
because I don't from experience,
Yeah.
With that. One thing I want to say is shift gears too. So when people who are typing people, and everybody's trying to type people. So people I'm most interested in are pastors, and I really am enjoying trying to type sports coaches and things like this.
Yeah.
So there's a coach. He's actually at Washington State, football coach named Mike Leach. I don't know if you've ever heard of Mike Leach.
No.
Just watch some YouTube interviews of the guy. He is, I don't know what in the world he is. I think he might be NT, but he's kind of this genius professor guy. He was at Texas Tech, and then he's now at Washington State. I mean, really kind of some out in the middle of nowhere kind of schools, for the most part. And he taught a class at Washington State called Insurgent Warfare and College Football, or something strategies or something like that. I mean, it's just, and so I'm like, what? So I've been interested on typing this guy, So I say all that just to say, I can spot it with the four temperaments, for lack of a better word. I can spot the EPs pretty quick.
Yeah.
I can spot the EJs for the most part. Because I'm like, oh yeah, I hear someone talking. I'm like, no, quit it.
Yeah.
You don't need any more. Quit asking for the validation. Stop. Right.
Right.
I see that pretty quick. Right. And it makes me want to hide under the table.
Right.
And then I see the IJs are easy for me to spot. I don't know if that's because I have SI second. I can kind of see, okay, that's controlling, totally in the box. And just recently, I've come to the conclusion, I think I have a hard time figuring out someone's IP.
Oh,
and my question is that because it's my opposite and I just don't understand it? Is that something that you see across the board?
We do see that. Shannon and I went through the same thing where there were types or sections that were unbelievably hard for us to see. FE was hard. NE was hard. Shannon gets all weird when it comes to IPs.
Okay, great. That's what I want to know. She's hard. If she misses it, she's like, "What is this?" And it's probably
she gets animalistically triggered when she sees their overconfidence. That gets her agitated, and it makes it harder for her to think straight. But yeah, we do see that, and we see that it'll be different things at different times. So once you get that one down, then you'll move on to something else, and then randomly these will be easy and that'll be hard. you know.
Okay, but the temperaments, I'm just like, well, maybe that's the case, and it's not just the IPs. I feel like like an INT or ISTP, any of the combinations. I feel like I get that. But I think it's like an F, like an FIP.
Yeah. Right.
I'm
Yeah.
just like, wait, okay, that's what that is.
Yeah.
That's what they're so crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. That gets Shandy pretty good too.
Yeah, yeah.
Seeing
Okay.
the overconfidence in the FI, it definitely takes her out of like lab coat zone
Yeah.
to like mad zone, you know, when she sees that, or kind of reaction, because it is the opposite.
Yeah. It's like, okay, that's what they are. Because sometimes I feel like it looks like FE.
Right.
If someone has a FI, a strong FI, that's an IP.
Yeah.
I'm like, is that FE? Like, no, like, because it can be real aggressive, you know? And it just kind of throws me off. I'm like, they're not an EJ. They're
Right.
not an ISFJ. I'm like, well, what is that? You know? So I
Yeah.
don't know. Maybe I just don't understand the F, which I probably don't.
Yeah. Yeah. It takes a little bit of time, especially if you're somebody that's getting you kind of riled up.
So you think that someone who's like demon functions are going to have a harder time when they're typing people? You think, generally speaking, like, so maybe like an EP is trying to type, they're going to have a hard time finding kind of an opposite type or seeing who that is, maybe, or
There's always somebody on the other side of the board that freaks us out, and you like mathematically, it seems to be it should be the opposite types.
yeah.
But then also, like, you know, parents is a big thing. Like if they remind you of your parents or something like that, or the same type, or the same type as you, like,
Yeah.
it does also seem to be where the person is in life as well. It's just what I've noticed with me and Shanny going through it, like how certain types will be weird for us because we're still trying to process a past relationship or whatever that is of the same type, you know.
Okay.
Yeah, so I don't know if there's an exact like, okay, this equals opposite that.
Yeah. I'm not necessarily saying it's exact one, but maybe a ballpark, right?
Yeah. It seems to be if it's your opposites or the same as you, that's another weird zone as well. I have a hard time type of people that are the same as me. And then also if it's somebody from your past relationships that they remind you of somebody, you know.
Yeah, it would be weird.
Yeah. Yeah, but there are a few that in the middle zone, it's just like, this is the one zone that like, oh my gosh, I can see those coming all the time.
Mm-hmm.
You know, whatever, you know, for you, the IJs or the EPs or whatever.
Yeah.
You know?
And then with the letters, which is kind of opposite end of the spectrum, mostly I can figure out, if I'm listening to people, I can figure out the letters pretty quick, which is because they're speech patterns, right?
Yeah.
And so ST is now painfully obvious. It's just like ST, like, you know. So when I'm watching a lot of coaches, it's just like ST.
Yeah.
So these coaches are got to be like, they're ESTJs, or a lot of them are maybe ESTPs or ISTPs. You know, I'm like, okay, this guy, just give me just a rundown. Here's the injury report.
Right.
So and so's got a broken collarbone. This person's got this. This person's got that. This person's got. Oh my gosh, you're such an ST. Whereas another coach would be like, you know, he's got a broken collarbone, but you know, he's really doing a good job. He's working hard.
Right.
Like, that's not ST.
Right.
It's SF, I think.
Right.
You know?
So kind of value in there. Yeah.
There's value in there. And so there's some SFs too. So I'll say that all to here's kind of my way of doing it if someone's trying to figure this out. So ST is obvious. It's just like,
right.
Right. NF also to me is obvious because I have no idea what in the world they're talking about.
Right. Right.
It's completely like, that's NF. You know,
right.
I have no clue what they said.
You get that animalistic reaction. Yeah. Yeah.
It's just like words are like, so, and then also like NF talk reminds me of Yoda.
Yeah.
Like, so instance, let me read you this text.
Read me the Yoda text in the ST.
I will. All right. Okay. So, hold on. Oh, okay. Here it is. Yeah. This long sleep too late too. So I moved him to the crib and he woke up 3 minutes later. And this person who will remain nameless says, yeah, this long sleep too late too.
Wow. It just sounds like gibberish.
Now it could be low blast, which I think it's low blast maybe.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just doesn't care to get it. There's no, they don't care to get it accurate.
Right. Right. Yeah. You look at an extreme, like a blaster ST is going to be over clear, you know, like a drill sergeant. Yeah. Over clear.
Yes.
Yeah.
So anyway, I wrote this person who will remain nameless back, and I said, with a Yoda GIF. Much to learn, you still have.
Yeah, there you go.
But the same person years ago would, when we would text and she would misspell words, I would write the correct word back, and they still
that's to it.
They still somehow like me, right?
Yeah.
But I say all that because, well, I don't know how I got off on that. Oh yeah, so I understand the end of, like, it's just like, what? I don't know what you're talking about. They're just trying to convey the feeling. They don't really care about conveying the meaning. I don't know.
Yeah,
and then on Twitter, if I'm reading people's
Yeah.
tweets, I'm like, oh, what is even this? And there's words like, just, they use a lot of, it seems like be language like, just like feeling language. Like, I don't know what that is. So I can understand that. The NT also is equally confusing, but like you said, it's complete nerd talk. It's like, what are you even saying? Like,
Yeah.
no one knows these words. No one uses these words.
Right.
And it's kind of like a robot. So what throws me off as well, more so than that, is the SF is harder for me to spot.
Sure. Right.
And I don't know why. It's not confusing, but it's not like listing either.
Right. Yeah. Well, it'd be something a little bit too close to you,
That's why, right?
Yeah. Yeah. It's like it seems to be with these functions and stuff. It just seems to be like like the planets where it's like, here's an NF thing.
Okay.
Like the inhabitable zone. Like if it's too close, you burned up. If it's too far, it's too cold. It's like if the function things are way too close to you, you can't see it. If it's way too far from you, you can't see it. And there's that zone, which is usually the kind of the middle ones where it's easier to see. It's more balanced or whatever. It's not triggering you. It's not reminding you of yourself or reminding you of your archenemy.
Okay. So I'm watching this coach who I think is ESFJ, and I'm watching him and I'm like, what is this guy? I can't figure it out. And I was like, Emily, and my wife, I was like, what? She's like, that's feeler. She's like, totally feeling. I'm like, oh, it's just like,
yeah.
Like, how do I not know that, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Right.
That's what it is. And then there's the value, like, oh yeah, so he's saying, oh no, this guy's doing well, and he's working hard. That's like kind of value type stuff, right?
Right. Yeah, we found when we're typing people to write down kind of in our checklist of like kind of our initial biases, like right away, what is it'll be hard too. Like if you have like demon FI or like, demon identity, to be like, what do I feel? I don't know. It might take a while to figure that out, but like paying attention to that of like, what was my initial reaction from this person?
Yeah. I'm interested in that because I'm interested in the coaches, because I'm trying to figure out, okay, who are the best coaches of all time? Like, I wonder if there's a personality, trend there.
Yeah. Probably is. Yeah, probably is. Yeah.
Because at that level, you're not just doing X's and O's. You're like dealing with people,
right?
Managing things,
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I've noticed that with like motivational speakers, like Les Brown and Eric Thomas, both two very positive motivational speakers, and they're both the exact same type, SE, FE, audio. And we're seeing stuff, and that's just two, but we're seeing stuff like that where people that are kind of the head of their class, world class at something, like, yes, you got to have the drive and the decision, blah, blah, blah. But like, if you also have the same natural parts and you love that field, then you just, you get both, the best of both. Right now in the bodybuilding world, there's the Mr. Olympia guy, Phil Heath. Like, he's not liked very much from the other bodybuilders because he's very naturally gifted.
Yeah.
Good symmetry, good proportions naturally. And so it's always a debate of like, everyone else has to work so hard for it. And then here's a guy who's like born for this.
Yeah.
And then so it's always like, oh, he doesn't work hard enough. But like when you get, and he always says like, yes, I'm talented, but if I'm talented and I work hard, now you're just
exactly right.
Right.
And the unique people to me are those that they're always working hard, right? And we know that. But it's just like the people you meet and you talk to them one-on-one, you're just like, whoa, that guy, that girl.
Right.
I mean, the people skills are off the charts. If they're being fake, they've totally fooled you. And it just seems to be a few people that are just like that. And I don't know. I don't know if that lines up somewhere or what. I guess you could always learn some of that too.
It starts to make sense the more you track. And like, I've really found like with this typing stuff, it's like, I remember in junior high, they had us do like ink dot drawings. Like, remember like the whole semester drawing a grasshopper, just one ink dot at a time.
No, I didn't do that.
Dotting this thing out forever. I could still like visually, it's burned in my mind. But it's like the teacher was saying like, okay, because this is ink dots, like if/when you mess up on I double dotted or I left this, it's like it doesn't matter because like by the time you're all done, the whole picture will emerge as it's a grasshopper, even though you messed up here and there. And it's like with the typing stuff, with a larger and larger database, it's like as the database is growing, it's kind of like and you can do the same thing in your own life. Like, you can kind of let that one go of like, okay, I spent too long on that one. I got it wrong or whatever. But if you're logging that, if you're SI logging that somewhere, like in paper or on a Google Doc or whatever, that it does start to sift itself out and clean itself out, you know? Because if you're only typing 2 people and you got 1 of them wrong, you're in trouble. But if you typed 50 people that category and you got 10 of them wrong, you're still doing good. The picture starts to emerge over time, which is kind of like, it's been a surprise with the personality community because they're like been outside of science for so long. And then you start playing the scientific game and it's really boring and it's really frustrating and it really takes a long time, but it does work, you know?
It does. And then I realized if all the people have hired on our staff, we have a pretty good sized staff. I'm like, wait a second. IJ.
Uh-oh.
What have I done? Like I've just hired a bunch of people to do the work.
Yeah.
You know, and then there's one over here that's an IP that's driving me crazy.
There you go.
When I gave them the test for their hire, they scored something else.
Yeah, right. Right.
So you're like, oh, that's what's going on there. But I have seen that. I'm like, I'm hiring a bunch of introverts.
Yeah. I'll see that too. I'll see that people online. I'll be following and I'll watch who they hire around them, and it's usually they'll get a copy and paste of some type that they've locked onto. Or
there's their opposit. If someone just like you, it's not going to. I don't think it's going to work.
Yeah, because there'll be a threat in the dog pack. So
you don't think it like. You don't think that way. That's not conscious, right? But if a double masculine like ESTJ just came into the office, I'd be like,
right.
Wait a second. Like, whoa, you know?
Right.
And I would probably be like, whoa, who's this guy?
Yeah.
And it would totally change the dynamics of it.
It really does. It really does. We're noticing that like the thing that's easy to see is like your natural sexual attraction. Like you can see that in yourself your whole life and other people can see that in you as well. But like that seems to be a spectrum as well. Like that's just like an extreme of like what we're doing with our coworkers, with our family members, with people we work with our best friends, with our enemies. It's like the 0 point is your own self, your own, whatever. And then everything kind of goes off of that. And that's why we see so much consistency in, okay, if Gary Vaynerchuk is this type, it's very consistent what his number 2 will be, what his enemy will be, and then what all of his little soldiers will be. That will be identically consistent to another Gary Vaynerchuk type also running a business. That team will look completely identical.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want a bunch of ISTJs and ISFJs getting things done. I just do.
I know. Everybody does.
But I think they enjoy it too. And you do need that end person on staff that's like, wait a second, we got to do this differently.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, yeah. But this person's going to freak, and this person over here is going to freak.
Yeah.
So you got to have to do that.
Yeah. Our approach with the types in the business is we're kind of starting with the non-movable is the marketplace. So we're constantly looking at where is the market today and tomorrow. We know with the internet changing things so fast because now we have Amazon delivering our groceries to us, which wasn't possible a few years ago. So there's a lot of like when you think about that concept times, I used to do my taxes, but now the tax lady used to do the taxes, but now this program does the taxes times a lot of these things. So it's like we're trying to get every job down to a 20 to 40 minute work module because we're finding that chasing the old style E-Myth game of like, I have an ISTJ job, so let me get an ISTJ for that. The thing is that that changes too fast. There's too much overlap. We're trying to get these areas identified and then getting people trained to kind of do all of the areas, but not have to be in any one area too long. Like you should not be sitting there, doing data input for 6 hours straight on one particular thing. You shouldn't end up with a job like that. With today's tools, what I mean is like groceries used to be like a half a day event for us. We'd have to plan it all out, go to the store, then come home and recover.
Horrible.
So that's a 6 hour project.
Oh, I can't. No.
Now it's a 20-minute project with not a lot of drain. So
Yeah, it's great. No, I had to go in Walmart when we had the hurricane. I had to actually walk in the Walmart. I was like, oh my gosh, what is it? And I had to like figure out where to go. And they've replaced all their people in there with like self-checkout stuff pretty much.
Yeah.
And they have pickups, so you don't have to go in anymore. And which is very efficient, but I mean, it's the grocery shopping. I will be telling our grandkids, back in my day, you had to get a buggy or a cart. That's what we call it down here, buggies. You had to load it up, go up and down the aisles. You need to have a list, or else you'll buy everything in the store.
Right, and then stand in line where they check it out one item at a time.
Oh, and someone had to do it for you, and then the old woman with the check is in front of you.
I was going to say that one right there. Yeah.
So anyway, the good old days weren't all that great.
I know, right?
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna let you go. You think anything you want to say? I know you're busy. It's been a good conversation.
Just this type stuff is just a great tool. There's a lot of amazing great tools, and I think that what is becoming kind of bubbling up to the surface from all these people doing all these different tools and stuff out there is really kind of finding the right tool for the right job. Like if you're more in the scientific minded, the big five, the ops stuff is definitely more the direction to go because it's playing the scientific game. The Enneagram seems to be something that is more kind of off the records. It's more of like, hey, person to person, self to self. This is who I identify with. This is what I'm feeling. These are how I'm processing my emotions and my hurt and my pain. I see a lot of people dealing with that.
Yeah.
And then the other thing that I keep thinking about is the archetype game. Like, am I the child, and should I be the child? Should I change archetypes? Should I jump over and be the reformer or the performer or helper?
And if you have a certain job, you almost feel forced to do that, right?
Maybe you should be forced to do that. Maybe it's time to force the hero's journey transformation where you can go from I was born this type or I am this type. Great. Now you need to be for the sake.
You're a pastor speaking in front of hundreds of people every day, every week. You have to present this.
Right. I don't care if you were born shy, Joel Osteen, you got to now perform over here, And the hero's journey is what is that transformation of being able to take more sides of the board.
Very good. All right, man. Well, we'll do it again.
All right.
Soon.